Alright, hello and welcome. Today we're going to be installing the Chipmunk mod into the GoPro Hero3 Black Edition sports camera. And what the Chipmunk mod lets you do is control the shutter button. So this button basically across any function of the camera on your RC transmitter. So this is great for taking pictures or starting video and stopping video while you're flying, and you still get that constant video output through the USB port. So it's great for FPV, it's great for a lot of other applications. So anyway, let's get started. So here's everything that we're going to need to install the Chipmunk in the GoPro. So of course we have our GoPro, we have our Chipmunk, we have some plastic prying tools, we have a small screwdriver. The screws in the GoPro are actually Phillips head, but I only have a small flathead screwdriver, so that's going to do for now. And we'll need some needle nose pliers and a pair of some wire cutters. And that's it. Okay, so let's get started. First off, a disclaimer. I've actually already done the mod to this camera, and I've taken out the Chipmunk so that I can show you guys how to put it back in, or I guess how to do the install from scratch. But just know that I'm going to be walking you through all the steps, but they've been done on this camera. So anyway, with that said, let's get started. First off, what we're going to do is we're going to use a plastic prying tool to just get in between this silver part and this black part of the camera. This whole front part actually lifts off. You can do this with a fingernail. Actually, that's how I did the original one. But there's some clips along all these sides, and there's a little bit of adhesive towards the bottom. So you know, you just want to work around gently and pry up these tabs. This is the front of the camera. The adhesive is in this patch and this patch, and there's a little bit underneath right here, and you can actually see the adhesive strip is on the camera, this white strip. Okay, so we're gonna put the front cover off to the side. Also, I've done a lens mod to this camera, and if you guys want to see that, I can also explain. There's some videos out there, but I can do a walkthrough of that if you want. So on the front of the camera, there is 4 screws holding in the main camera unit to its housing. We're going to use the small flathead or Phillips head screwdriver. Ideally, these are Phillips screws, but this works okay for me. So now it's time to lift the camera body outside of the camera. A couple things that you want to keep in mind. These I/O ports, this micro USB and this mini HDMI or micro HDMI, whatever it is, interfere. Like, you can't lift the camera out because they're kind of protruding out through the case. So you can use a fingernail or you know, something else to pry this open. It doesn't have to be done very much. You kind of slide the camera body this way, and then you can start to lift it out. Now you want to be careful because there's some flex cables that connect this main body to the camera, which we'll see in a second. But so we lift this thing out, lift this board out, and there's a flex cable right there. Right here. Oop. And so once we have the camera body out of there, there's a little black tab on this connector, and we just want to flip that up like that. And it's hard to see on camera, but once you get your GoPro apart, this will be pretty easy. And then the flex cable can just slip out, and let's see. Ooh. flex cable should just be able to slip out just like that, really easy. So we have this part and we have this part. We're going to set the main camera module to the side. Make sure it doesn't get any dust or debris in the circuitry. Just common sense. So we'll put that over here. Okay. So with the camera body, there's a couple things that we need to do. The first thing is, actually there's going to be some components over here. There's like a, I think it's a microphone, or no, I think it's a, not sure, I think it might be a microphone actually. I don't know. Anyway, this component comes out, and you can put it back in, but for my applications I don't really need it for this particular camera. There's also some adhesive tape that goes across the face of this metal cover, and you have to peel that up. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to take off this metal plate right here. So you know, peel up that tape like that, and then it's not installed in this camera because I took it out, but there's a, you see down here where there's like a plastic diffuser, there's an LED that goes in there, and that diffuser kind of makes this light on the outside of the camera look kind of, you know, diffused and nice. There's one of them up here, and you have to take that out as well. There's a little bit of adhesive that holds that in, so it takes a little wiggling around, and you know, you might have to push out on here, but it does come out. And then after that, you can slide. Oh, again, there's two screws. I don't even put them back in, but there's two screws down here. You can see a hole. Let's see, right there. It's not quite in focus, but you can see the hole right there. And then there's one down here next to this flex cable. Now this is the flex cable that actually connects to the Chipmunk, and then the white flex cable that's included in the Chipmunk then routes from the Chipmunk, that again is installed inside the battery cover, to the main board of the camera. So once you get all that stuff out, unscrewed, this metal piece pops out just like that. Now the modification that you have to do is really quick with a pair of wire cutters, or you could use a razor saw, maybe something to cut. You kind of have to cut this metal tab, and you can see that I've kind of done this. Let me try to get it close to the camera and in focus. You've seen that there's this metal tab right here, and I folded it over, but usually it's, you know, it's over just like this one. It's connected to this one, so you have to use your wire cutters to cut that tab in half. And again, I'm sorry that this is not in focus. And then use your needle nose pliers to fold that tab over towards the inside, just like that. And it doesn't need to be perfect, but just so that tab is over, because what we're going to do is we're going to route this flex cable over and around so that it comes inside of the battery chamber. Cool. Okay, so once that's done, we can put that off to the side and continue on with our modifications. And this is kind of the closing sequence of the camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to go reach for this white flex cable and insert one of the sides into this little connector on the board that we originally took out the original flex cable from the camera from, and we want that to go metal side up, so we're not shorting anything out on the actual board. So this should go in very easily, assuming that and you want to make sure that this again, this plastic part, this black plastic piece on this white connector is flipped up, or 90 degrees to the kind of the face of the connector, or the you know, the face of the board. So this part, this moves, you want to make it up just like that. You plug the flex cable in, and then you can snap it back down again just like that. And you can put some electrical tape on this surface to act as strain relief. It's not going to short because it's going to be up against this adhesive tape on the GoPro side, so it's, you know, it's insulated. It's not going to short. But if you want to put some electrical tape on this face of it, maybe to help with strain relief or whatever, that's absolutely something that you can do. Now it's time to reassemble the GoPro. So we're going to reach for the case, and we're going to reinsert this metal bracket part back in to the camera, and we want to flip this flex cable around from there, which it is normally, around and in there, just like that, so we can route it outside the camera. So let's see, let me move this to the side. Ooh. Put that to the side. Okay. So in, and there's a groove that you have to put this thing in. And we're just going to get it maybe halfway down, and make sure this piece of tape is wrapped around this face. We're going to get it partially down just so it's in the groove, and then we're going to thread this white flex cable in through the bottom, just like that, in through the bottom, so it comes out the back. And so now we have two flex cables. In the battery tray we have the white flex cable, and we have this kind of yellow copper color flex cable that's routing from the buttons on the GoPro. And then once we've done that, we can push this whole thing back together and seat the whole camera back in the body. Just like that. Okay. Now we can go and replace the screws. We can replace the front cover of the GoPro. Some fibers up there. Okay. Replace the front cover of the GoPro. Easy as that. And then we can now install the main module. So it's pretty simple. We're just going to unravel the highly flexible cord, and the Chipmunk module just goes in there like that. It's a nice snug fit. And so on these connectors there's also these black plastic levers that need to come up to insert the cable in, and then when we insert the cable they're going to go back down again. So the top connector connects with this copper color flex cable from that was original with the GoPro, and the bottom one attaches with the new white flex cable. So let's just connect those right now. So I'm going to connect the white one first. Put that lever down, and now the copper color one. And these should go in very easily. Once you line them up properly, they should go in very easily. Put that down, and then I'm just going to tuck the extra white flex cable underneath there. And now we can place the battery cover on the GoPro, and the cabling coming out of the GoPro does so just fine. And now we have a Chipmunk installed in the GoPro, which is going to let us hook this up to any standard PWM transmitter, and or I should say receiver, and let us take pictures via our transmitter with the GoPro Hero 3 Plus.